Demon keeps dreaming of a demon town. Motherfucker, bitch, fuck, shit went down. Fleming's got an itch, scratch it with a bitch. Demon keeps dreaming of a demon town. Ooh, Johnson, that's my name.
Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again, introducing you to my Shadows of the Damned Satanic Hell difficulty video walkthrough. This is the level 5-1, it is entitled 6 Feet Under, and it is the first of the final act. So, this is a pretty long level, and it is filled with fights. Luckily enough, it's nothing new, it's nothing really different. There's a couple of awkward sections with darkness, but those aside, it's not too bad. I do apologise that I keep pausing. I seem to be having trouble digesting the meal I had a few hours back. My fucking body rate must have lowered or something. My metabolism isn't doing its job anymore. But it's trying, so I'll let it off. So once again, I am going to be talking about different things, because there's not really much to discuss anymore about this game. I've talked some of the most strategy. There is a new enemy turning up now, and there is also a new puzzle that's turning up at this moment in time. But both of them are pretty unspectacular, so they don't really need too much attention. These guys here that you can see in the fences, they're enemies that have... Do you see those rods that are on the top of the shoulders and the top of the heads? They will glow. That is their weak spot, and then you have to destroy those to kill them. They're an enemy that do one attack. They will charge you and they will grab you. That's all they do. If you dodge their grab, it will do no damage. If they grab you and you perform the quick time event correctly, it will do no damage. It's very strange, actually. The quick time event feels like it's really fast, but it's actually really slow. All you have to do is watch for what pops up and press them. Don't tap them. Don't feel like you're in any stress whatsoever. As long as you hit the correct buttons, you will get out unscathed. It is very simple. But you'll notice that they're glowing red. They're what you have to shoot. I further found out a better strategy for dealing with these guys. Do you see how the roof is kind of low and he stands kind of tall? If you put the hot boner explosives on the roof and you get like 2 or 3 of them, get him to go near the radius of the explosion, then detonate them, and it does a massive amount of damage to the rods on his shoulders. And it just saves ammo because the hot boner is free pretty much, and everything else isn't. But these guys take a beating. They will take quite a while. That green honeycombed pattern over there, by the way, that means that you're going to have to use the new feature of this weapon that I'm using. Once you charge it up fully and you get all 4 skulls, it'll start rotating, and it will actually turn the skulls into a giant skull, which can be used as a remote detonating explosive, and that is how you get through the puzzle that's going to be, you know, brought to you in after this sequence of fights. But I'm going to talk about some other stuff, because it's just better that way. Unless there's something poignant to say in the video, I might as well talk some shit, try and make it a little bit more entertaining than some of the combat is. Because that's just how I roll, so I'm going to take a quick victory sip and then delve into my first topic. Oh. So, I said I've been watching some Dark Souls, and I've been watching quite a lot of it actually. The first thing I'm going to say is I have absolutely no interest to play this game, but I do find it kind of fascinating to watch. And what I mean by this is, everything about the game to me looks kinda dull. And I don't mean to offend anybody that likes it, because I appreciate that this is not a bad game in any standards. It's actually a game I respect a lot, and the reason I respect it is because it's daring to do something different. And there's a lot of games these days that come out that look fucking so identikit cloned from everything else that you don't see any innovation, you don't see anything. You just see all these adherences to the normal convention, and for the most, a lot of them are boring and arbitrary, and they're nowhere near as good as they could have been if they'd have decided to take a creative stand and done something different. Dark Souls is one of those games that does not give a fuck what you think about it, and I love that about that game. I don't like how the game looks, because I personally think the graphics on it are pretty damn bad. I think it looks really dull, it looks really muddy brown and greeny, and it's all, you know, medieval, cliched knights and skeletons, and just... It's not an aesthetic that I find at all pleasing or imaginative or all that enjoyable, and this is not me knocking it, it's just my personal reasons for having no ambition to play it. But when I watch it, there is certain things that really stand out. And like I say, this game doesn't care if you don't like it. This game doesn't care if you think it's cheap. It just is. It just enjoys what it's doing, and that's generally fucking you over and putting you into a situation that you could have never predicted, that ends up with you dying and going back to a checkpoint that is probably a hell of a lot further back than you would have liked. And that is just how it rolls, and if you don't like it, you know, get the fuck out. And that is the attitude that it carries. And I love that attitude. I just wish it was in a different game. Because my big thing with what I've seen so far with Dark Souls is it's a really good idea. It's a really good and interesting take on that kind of genre, but it falls down because it's fundamentally flawed in a couple of ways. I like the look of the loot system. I like how you can, you know, get random drops and how enemies can drop items that you can be using for the rest of the game, because there's just that probability that you might get something really awesome or you might not. I like the idea that there are certain enemies in the levels that if you do not know how to fight, or you don't know, you know, your way around the game all that well, they're just going to push your shit in. They're going to be basically a nice, you know, a nice grounding effect of crushing your dreams and showing you that you're not as good as you think you are. And I think you need that in some games, because especially with the difficulty levels these days of the standard, you know, experiences that you get, they kind of build up your ego as if you're untouchable, as if you're really, really good, when in all essence the game is not that challenging and you're just as good as anybody else that plays it, and it's kind of holding your hand. Dark Souls just throws you off a fucking bridge and asks you to go back 20 minutes to get back to the same bridge, where an enemy's going to turn up and knock you off it. So it's strange, because it's one of those type of games where it rewards experience, it rewards learning and mastery of the game, and I really like that, but the combat of it seems so slow and so unresponsive that it just doesn't seem like something I'd enjoy. And what I mean by this, as I fail to get this skull into that pen, is when you press the attack button, it seems to have input delay. There seems to be a lot of lag between the response of the actions. And it's intentional, don't get me wrong. This is not a glitch in the game. This is not bad game design. This is intentional weight that they've given to the characters to make them feel like the movement is weighted. And it's probably to do with the encumbrance in the game, because encumbrance plays a pretty big part. And maybe playing as a faster character does enable you to do the attacks quicker and things like that, but I just wish that it was one for one. I wish it was, you know, as responsive as like a Ninja Gaiden, something like that, because then it would really appeal to me, because I could use skill and reflex rather than, you know, repetition and knowledge, and it would just make it a lot more appealing to me. But I've been watching bits of it and it does look interesting. I do like a lot of the ideas that they've got going for it. With the things along the lines of the weapons and stuff, like the bosses, if you kill the tails, they drop really, really powerful weapons, but it's a really arduous task to take the tails off them. And I do like how bosses turn up randomly all the time, and how some of them are super powerful, but if you know what you're doing, you can cheese them. That's the type of stuff I do enjoy, but it's all in a game, and it's all in the wrapper of a game that just does not make me want to play it. And it's a bit of a shame, that, because there's a lot to fall in love with, and I can tell by the people that enjoy the game. And it's going to be nice watching my buddy's progress through it, because he's frustrated, but he's not pissed off, which is pretty rare, so hopefully he's going to have a good time with it. But when you come into this cast, once again, into this cast, I meant to say casket, and I don't know why, because it's a crypt. It must have been the sea that kind of put me off. But you're going to get attacked by another one of the brutes, or the elites, or whatever you want to call them. Exact same pattern as we've been doing throughout the game. Rinse and repeat, and you'll have no trouble with him whatsoever. But a lot of people have been asking me to do some older games. Not necessarily SNES games, you know, or NES games, but just some older titles now that we're in a bit of a dry spell. And my response was, I do have a lot of projects that I've still to do, but I'm going to try and do games as I can that interest me, that I think might be interesting to watch and might make enjoyable videos. And one of them that I am going to be doing, which is probably going to be a big mistake because it's going to really suck, is I'm going to be doing a kind of like an average Joe's survival guide of Ninja Gaiden Sigma on Master Ninja. And it is not going to be a skill-based walkthrough. It is literally going to be, if you don't have the time to invest, you know, 100+ hours at learning every facet of this extremely complicated and difficult game, and you still want to beat it on its hardest difficulty, here is some of the cheapest, cheesiest, most user-friendly ways of approaching it type of deal. And hopefully that should be pretty fun, because that game is hard. It's probably harder than the second one because the second one's fast. This one's slightly slower, so it needs a different kind of rhythm, and I've not quite got it down yet, but I've been giving you a progress update in random videos, so only the really, you know, committed people to my channel will probably understand the full breadth of this conversation. But I'm going to do another update because it's going to make it easier for when I do the guide. You're going to understand what I've gone through and all that kind of stuff. But I beat hard the other day. I finished it on hard. I didn't have too much trouble. The only areas that I really had problems with, one of them was before I got the Izuna drop, because before the Izuna drop that game can be a pain in the ass because it can be hard to finish enemies off. And Awakened Alma gave me a lot of trouble because she's a bitch and I hate her. And Spectral Doku actually gave me a lot of problems as well. And the main reason he gave me issue is the save point that leads to him. As you get towards the door, a bunch of ghostfish spawn and a bunch of the crab fiends turn up as well. So as you go to try and open the door, you get attacked by the fish put you in one space, and then the enemy hits you. So I was generally getting in a really bad state before I even got into the fight. But it was the first time I got a weapon called the Unlabored Flawlessness, which is a really super powerful but really slow paddle sword thing. And I'd never really used it, but I started trying to fight Spirit Doku with it, and my goodness, I ended up taking half his life bar with one ultimate technique, which was really cool because I'd never done anything like that, and it was a really good feeling to like shit on a boss for a change, and that was kind of cool. But I started very hard anyhow, and immediately the first level of that game is rough as shit. On Master Ninja it's probably going to be rougher so, because you've got to do a bunch of fights before you hit the first save point. And my first experience going through it is immediately when the enemies turned up I noticed that they were purple, which means that they're harder, and I also noticed that they had windmill shurikens, which is just fucking bad news. This is another one of the sections where she chases you. This one's slightly more difficult though because she's got super aids now, so she's a little bit faster so it seems, and there's a hell of a lot more things in your path. She shouldn't catch you though because it doesn't seem to be all that much different from the last encounter. It's just one of those where as soon as you get to this door you're safe, and it just tries to mix up the gameplay a little bit. You can turn around and stun her with the light shot if you're not confident in your ability to run away, but you should never need to do that. And I'm going to have to interrupt my Ninja Gaiden talk for this section coming up, I believe, because yeah, this is going to be a fight with those electricity dudes that love these little plinths, but if you take out as many as you can before you trigger the fight, you'll have a much easier time. So just eke your way into this room, hit as many of these plinths as you can so that it limits where this guy can turn up. Just be aware that you're going to get attacked by enemies covered in darkness, and the AI on the enemies on this bit is kind of weird because they don't quite know how to get you sometimes. Other times they'll not even turn up, they'll just kind of be on the far ground. It's really weird. But if he takes out the goat, you've got to turn it back to light or you're just going to be in a world of trouble. Just bear in mind you can get swarmed by enemies here because they will be spawning. There's a handful of them that will spawn. It's just to make it a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. But your main priority here is getting rid of the plinths and getting rid of the electric demon, or whatever the hell it is. And just watch out for these guys. These guys are the most passive enemy in the game. They're pretty pathetic, and you'll notice just then Garcia knocked him away. You don't have to press a button for him to do that. He just kind of does it himself. That's how piss weak they are. And then you can focus on the rest of the enemies. But yeah, the ninjas were throwing windmill shurikens, and the windmill shurikens are bad news because they hurt a lot more than normal shurikens, and they knock you off balance, which is kind of gay. But for the most, they weren't too bad. The only problem is, because it's on very hard, the aggressiveness of the ninjas is pretty ridiculous. I don't know why they're so angry with me, but they're really angry with me, and they attack all the time. They're constantly on you, they're constantly flipping around you. They're a hell of a lot better at evading now, they're much better at blocking, and they also take a bigger beating because they're a harder version of the ninjas. And there is a lot of them to kill before you get that first save point, and if anybody's played the game, The game does not checkpoint between save points. It's just save point to save point, and you have to repeat the entire start of the game up until you've gone past the first dojo room before you get a save point, and it's really intimidating because there's a whole bunch of enemies on your way up to the Murai's dojo. Then there's a room that seals you in, where you have to take on about 10 to 12 of the windmill shuriken ninjas. And then once you go through that, there's a whole room filled with more ninjas, and one of these dudes can kill you, because at the start of the game, you have a really shit sword, you have no fucking moves, you have really small life, and as I mentioned, every single enemy is really angry with you for some reason, as if you'd slept with their wives or something, but they're all up your ass all the time, like a suppository. It's ridiculous, and it's pretty challenging. And getting to that save point can be difficult, but I only died once, and I managed to get to the save point, so that was positive, and I'm on chapter 6 at this moment in time. There's 18 chapters in the game. They do get easier as you go through them. I've just got my Izuna drop, so I'm comfortable that I'm going to be able to get through the rest of it. There's a couple of moments that I know is going to be hard, but yeah, this game is not easy. So hopefully I'll manage to get to Master Ninja, and hopefully it'll make for a really enjoyable series of videos. It might not. It might get cancelled. Who knows? I'm just saying that's probably something I'm going to like to do, because I'm having a lot of fun with it, although it is cheap like a motherfucker. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. And you take care now.